sports and basketball analysis with over 70 years combined experience. This is the Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman podcast.
NBA, some college, a little bit of everything.
You know, what can I say? But it wasn't going to happen here with him. I was okay.
Gentlemen, we are going to talk about the Boston Celtics and who we believe they will be taking on the Dallas Mavericks. But first, we have to start with the passing of one of the all-time great basketball players, personalities, deadheads, poet, philosopher, characters, Bill Walton. And Bob, I'm going to start with you because I know Jeff has some stories, but of the three of us, I think you had the most experience of a life well lived, Bill Walton.
Well, this is a personal thing for me. And I'm not claiming to be an intimate or a buddy, but we were very good. We were good friends. And I enjoyed his company immensely. And he was one of the most interesting people I've ever met. Before we even get to the basketball, and there's plenty to talk about there. But he was a man who lived life to its fullest and embraced every day and lived life to its fullest and lived it on his terms. And it was a very complicated life in terms of he went through a lot of pain. I mean, physical pain. Everybody knows about his famous lower limb injuries. But there was a period of time about 20 some years ago when his back pain was so bad, his back issue was so bad that he truly considered suicide, which he talks about in a book. As Bill, he was fully forthcoming about it. He got through that period and resumed his life and really the last phase of his life. He's more known for his broadcasting, and there's a whole generation that never saw him play, of course, that know him as a broadcaster. And there was nobody quite like him. I used to kid him, Bill, how about talking about basketball tonight? I mean, but that was that was Bill Walton. He touched a lot of lives. He had so many facets. You mentioned the Grateful Dead, surely their most famous fan ever. He was with them at the Pyramids, by the way, when they were there, and claimed to have been to 1,000 Dead concerts. And they who knows, but anyway. I'm deeply saddened by it, and I'm gonna miss my communications with Bill Walton.
Yeah, it actually hit me hard, and I worked with him. I don't know, probably a handful of times at ESPN. Would see him all over the place at games and whatnot over the years. Again, don't claim to be super close with him, but felt super close with him, if that makes sense. He made you feel.
I know.
He made you feel that way. That's a gift. I feel like he and Charles Barkley are similar in a lot of respects, that no matter, you see them and people come up to them and they're always smiling. They always have time for everybody and anybody, no matter how much pain Bill Walton was in, and he was in a lot of it over the years. He would never let on to it. He would always be smiling. I remember doing the PK80 tournament out in Portland, Oregon with him a few years back. And there were 16 teams. And Bill and I were both covering one bracket of it, 8 teams. And we were there for the practices the day before from, I don't know, they started at 9 a.m. and we didn't end until 6 at night. And he sat there and I was like, there's no way Bill Walton is going to stay here, because you listen to him broadcast and you're like, he doesn't talk about the players half the time. Like, Bob, he's just going on tangents, crazy tangents. So I'm like, he's going to duck out after, like, he'll go to a practice and then he'll be gone. He literally stayed there all day for 8 practices. And he loved talking to everybody, the players, the coaches, the smile. And then the funniest part is, so I'm doing sideline for these games with him. And I called Luke up the night before, and I said, hey, Luke, I'm going to have some fun with your dad here. I'm going to fact check him on some of the crazy things that he says. I'm going to see if he's making this crap up or he's right about how many lakes are in Montana, these crazy things. So sure enough, so Luke's like, yeah, do it. Definitely do it. So I fact checked 3 of them. And again, it was like, yeah, like how many lakes are in Montana and like, I don't know, these crazy, mundane things. And sure enough, he was right on 3 of them. Like I fact checked 3, He was right on all three of them. That was the thing about Bill Walton. So smart.
Oh,
so well read, so well versed, like just could talk to anybody. And again, getting back to my original point, make you feel so good about yourself. He'd come up to you, with that big hand and shake your hand. Hey, Jeff, Bill Walton. And I'd already met him like 10 times. I'm like, I know who the hell you are. You don't need to introduce yourself. He would do that when he saw Danny Ainge. He would go up to Danny Ainge and, hey, Danny, Bill Walton. And Danny would just sit there and smile and look at him. And I don't know. He's going to be missed so much because of, again, that like enthusiasm he had for life, even with everything that he dealt with over his life that didn't really go according to plan.
Including the stuttering. And
Yes,
when
yes.
he stuttered until his mid-20s, and I got help apparently from Marty Glickman, the great announcer, the New York announcer, who helped him somehow or some way. He got in touch he was put in touch or whatever with Marty, and somehow or other he gave credit to Marty Glickman for helping him overcome the stuttering. And of course, the great joke that we all had, anybody who knew him, was that once he stopped stuttering, he had to make up for lost time, and he never stopped talking after that. He set a record that'll never be broken for the longest acceptance speech at the Hall of Fame in 1993. I'll tell you that right now.
Were you there?
Yes, I was there in Springfield for that one. And he ran through the stop sign and then circled the bases again and ran through the stop sign at third base a second time. So, and we just shrugged. Everybody just shrugged. That's Bill. Only Bill could get away with it, and the way he did. Oh God, he was such a trip.
Bob, let's break down some basketball here because there's some things I'm curious about. Basketball. I was talking to a friend this morning. Let's start with college. Okay, UCLA. Who at 100%? Who's the better player? Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, or Bill Walton?
Well, that's a tough one, of course. And
break it down for me.
Well, Bill went through two. Bill was 88-4. I looked it up. He was 30-0, 30-0, 24, 28-4. Kareem, I got the numbers, so it's very similar. But Kareem wins the battle of championships 3-2. Lou Alcindor, that therefore Lou Alcindor wins the battle of championships. They were not exactly the same player. Kareem's, and Lou/Kareem's great calling card, ultimately, when it's all said and done, was the hook shot.
Right.
The shot, most famous single shot in the history of basketball, really and truly, is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's and Lou Alcindor's hook shot. Okay. Bill is more known for passing, number one, should be. Not as well known as he should be for rebounding. We're going to get to that. I want to talk about that. And I think his all-around capacity was, if I had to win a game tonight, I've said it 100 times, 1,000 times, the center of all time that I want to win, if we're saving Earth from a battle against alien invaders and we're all going to go into servitude for all eternity if we lose the game, the basketball game, I want Bill Walton as my starting center because I will run my offense to him. I'll run my defense to him. I will get every rebound I need. I will get team play the exemplary team play. And believe me, that's a tough call, but I would take the best of Bill Walton over any center who's ever played the game.
Lou Alcindor, by the way, was 88-2.
88-2.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, crazy. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million members. It is the most fun and exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats for a shot to win up 100 times your cash. With Prize Picks, you could turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite sports this summer. You can make a Prize Picks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. You just need to pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you're locked in. Now, if you're looking for promotions, Prize Picks has got you covered every week, from lowering select player stats projections on Tuesdays, which increases your chance of getting a win, to getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Fridays. The finals mean more on Prize Picks, and so do the star players. You get boosted playoffs on selected basketball stars that you won't find anywhere else. Now, this week on Prize Picks, I'm looking at Jason Tatum, more than 26.5 points. Jaylen Brown, more than 3 threes, which may be aggressive, but I'm running with that. Download that app today and use a code CLNS for a deposit match up to $100. Prize picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Well, I think the passing, that's what we were talking about. And I said, I just remember Bill being a better passer than Kareem. You know, that was
more than anybody, except now there's only one challenger, and that's we have a challenger now, and that's Jokic. Yeah. Jokic is the first person that deserves to be mentioned in the same breath as Bill Walton as a passing center.
Okay, let's talk about that 77 Trailblazer team led by Dr. Jack Ramsey and those unbelievable leisure suits. That team, was that team expected to contend that year, Bob?
No. And first of all, Bill hadn't yet hit his stride as a professional due to the injury factor that was always there. But that year, even that year, he only played in 60-some games. And they found themselves in the second half of the year and went into playoffs, and they weren't the favorites. West, I think the Lakers were still. And Phoenix, by the way, Phoenix still had a remnants of the team that had gone to the finals in '76, and so they put it together. And as the season went on, the thing about that team is it was so young. 4 of the 5 starters were 25 or under, including himself, Maurice Lucas, Bobby Gross, and Lionel Hollins. 5th starter was Dave Twardzik, who was like 28. But they were poised, and the next year, after they won, and by the way, the finals, they lost the games 1 and 2, and they came back and won the next 4 to beat the 76ers.
Right.
And Walton had a tremendous 6th game, great numbers in the 6th game, 23, 20 blocks, and the whole package. He had a great game, and he was the MVP of the finals. The next year, they were even better. They acted as championship teams often do. They were with a swagger. They knew who they were. They kicked butt all year. They were 50-10 when Walton got hurt, and that was and then they went 8-14 the rest of the regular season, and got beaten the first round by Seattle in 6 games, and it was over, and it never materialized. Now the other people got hurt too. It wasn't just Walton, but obviously Walton was the key. And next thing you know, and he leaves after the 78-79 season to go and become a free agent with Clippers, and that starts that off. Anyway, that I long believed that Portland team was poised to be a dynasty, to be a mini dynasty, to win multiple championships, but it didn't happen, and it all didn't start. Number one reason didn't happen is Bill Walton got hurt. But then again, entire story of his career. Here's a guy, he missed. Guys, you guys notice, but he'll have to understand. He in the span of the 14 years in which he was a professional, he missed 3 complete seasons.
Right. Oh yeah. No, I remember.
3.
I remember.
And then his final season was almost. He only played 10 games for the Celtics in 86, 87, and he bowed out in the playoffs, and that was the end of it. So he basically missed 3 and almost 4 full seasons his career. So it was an unfulfilled promise. As a professional, we know that, and it was for one reason and one reason only. He just couldn't stay healthy.
Hey, Bob, have you ever been to his house?
I have been to his house on multiple occasions. It is. How do you explain it to people?
It's like I don't know. Like, it's the weirdest.
I've got pictures. I sent pictures out to people when I was there in December. To interview him for the Larry Bird Museum, which, by the way, will open on Thursday the 30th.
How is he doing in December? Like, I didn't see him at the Final Four this year. Obviously, I know he wasn't feeling up to it.
He was hobbling, but he's always hobbling.
Yeah.
But he looked great, and I've got the pictures to prove it. I'll send you guys when we're done, and with him, and he looked terrific. I didn't know he was ill. I don't know how many people did know he was ill, and he didn't. And he was his usual exuberant, passionate, fun. First question in the interview. 5-minute answer.
Oh yeah.
5-minute answer. First question. And we would have been happy with a half hour. We got 2 hours out of him.
No surprise. He loved people. That's the beauty of Bill Walton. He treated everybody like, again, who was I was some young kid, sideline guy, and he invites me to his house. And still, my favorite photo, I posted it the other day when he passed. My favorite photo I've ever taken with anybody with Bill Walton and his dog Cortez in the teepee in his backyard.
Yes.
Which his backyard, Gary, is it's kind of like a jungle. I don't know how you describe it, but legitimately, I don't know how many acres are back there. This thing is unbelievable with like the plants and wildlife and whatever. And then he's got this teepee way back there that I don't know what he was doing, probably smoking weed or something. Who knows? But man, it was just, I don't know, being with that guy, like it was just so much fun, and it never felt forced or fake. He was so real, and that's why I compare him to Barkley. They're so real, and they don't take themselves too seriously. You can have fun with him. You can joke around. They're going to play around with you. And, man, he's just going to be missed by so many. Like, you just saw it with the outpouring of again, and it was all people telling, like, stories celebrating. Like, Bill Walton's passing at 71 is so sad, right? It's so sad. At 71, he went way too early. But I feel like so many people were like, this guy lived such a full life. We're going to completely celebrate him and talk about all these unbelievable stories that everybody had, that, again, everybody felt like they knew him way better than they knew him.
You know, everybody's going to have different aspects of his life to explore. His teammates will have one bunch of stories that the broadcast partner, Dave Pasch, you know, he affected Dave Pasch's life, and he'll tell you that. I saw him with an interview the other day, you know, and he so many people, and no, there's no question. There's nobody quite like him. You can say that about a lot of people. Nobody, but this guy will not be replaced.
What's the story after they won in '86? Wasn't he with Bird? Is this in Bird's book? He passed out in the back of a pickup truck at Larry Bird's house.
I don't know about that one.
Yeah, something like that.
Tell me. I don't know that one. I'll tell you that. But
he was with Bird. He went home with Bird to Indiana to celebrate the title. That I remember. All right, let's move ahead then. We all know he never was able to play for the Clippers. He was never healthy. So one last shot at another title in '86, Bob, when he comes here.
Yep.
Just take us through when the Celtics got him, his arrival, and why it worked.
Well, the story, of course, is that Larry was with Red, and when there was a phone call with Bill, and Larry absolutely says to Red, please get this guy. We want this guy. At that point in his career, you know, he was coming off the disappointment, and the Clippers. He was 34 or so. Yeah, 30. Yeah, 4. And people really didn't know exactly what to expect. And he comes in. The first thing he does, one of the first things he does, is go to Robert Parrish's house to reassure the chief that he wasn't there to take his job, but he was there to be a part of the whole. That was number one. So he won Chief Parrish over right away. And I think that was a very important step, but that tells you so much about Bill that he would do that. And it was sincere. He meant it. And he knew exactly who he was at this point in his career and what he could contribute. And he was. And the miracle of it that no one can ever explain is he played 80 games. He had never played more than 65 games, including his MVP season of 77, 78. He played 65 games. And he never played more, but he played 80 games. And the 2 games he missed had nothing to do with his notorious lower limbs. Had to do with, one was a broken nose, the other was sick. And he was the 6th man of the year. And my argument for this, for why the Celtics of 85, 86 are the greatest team of all time, ends with the trump card. The trump card being no team ever brought anything like Bill Walton off the bench. There have been great 6 men. John Havlicek started that theory, and 6 men usually have a different role. He was the only center 6th man ever that won the award, and he gave the Celtics the greatest 1-2 center punch in the history of the game. But he changed games, and he and Bird, the collaboration was made in basketball heaven, absolutely. And as you knew it would be, it was everything that they both hoped it would be. When they were on the floor, we used to laugh. And I'm not making this up. Well, Bill would come into game, and at end of the first quarter, beginning of second, whenever, and we would put quarters up on the press table, and how long will it take before they want to give and go, and whoever wins the pool, and they made an art form out of the simple give and go. that has never been seen on basketball before or since. The timing of it was varied. They had tricks. And they made it was an unstoppable weapon at the give and go with those two. And primarily because of Walton's timing and instinct on the passing. But Larry could finish, of course, at either side of the basket. But and no, very seldom do anybody else want to give and go it, and the guy winds up on the other side of the basket. But with those two, they did. Anyway, it was he was the happiest guy ever to join the team that I've ever seen, and was so happy to be there, and he liked everything about he liked the on court, off the court. He loved the sociability, the camaraderie, and Rick Carlisle was expounding about it the other day. He was a member of the so-called green team, and they practiced every day. And then when they scrimmaged that year, it was for real. They wanted to win, and the green team, which was the seconds team, was anchored by Bill, and they won their share because of Bill Walton. I mean, there's no other possibility that any other circumstance in any other team where the first team would be, have a struggle. A team as good as the Celtics first team would have trouble struggling to beat the second team, except that Bill Walton was anchoring the second team. So that's how good he was.
And I think, did Carlisle also tell a story how Bill got him tickets to the Grateful Dead?
Oh yeah, and Rick had a new girlfriend, and he wanted to
first date, Bob.
First date, and they were in D.C. at Landover in Maryland. And he asked Bill, "Could you do something for me?" And he said, "Oh, I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it. Just show up and tell him you're Rick Carlisle from the Celtics, and Bill Walton sent you." And sure enough, it worked.
Carlisle goes, "We're on stage. We're on the stage." He goes, "After we're hanging out with Jerry."
Yeah, he's hanging out. Yeah. By the way, Jeff, you made an allusion to his house, and you can appreciate it, and you can't explain it to anybody. I've got plenty of pictures of it. His first floor. It's not like anybody's first floor that you'll ever see in any house in America. I can tell you that. The only conventional room is the kitchen. Kitchen looks like anybody's kitchen.
Yeah.
The rest of it is so laden with memorabilia and stuff and things and including legitimate Grateful Dead instruments, drum sets, guitars that are legit, the real deal stuff. And there's no other house like it in America.
Imagine how his wife dealt with that.
Oh,
like how did she? I mean, it was a disaster. Like you walked in there and you're like, "Oh my God!" Like I don't know how anybody can live in this stuff everywhere, every room. Like things on the walls, like no empty space. There were pictures and you name it. Grateful Dead room, an entire room, more than even one, I think, but one full room devoted to the Grateful Dead.
Yeah,
do you think the reason why he and Parrish got along so well is because of their fondness of the psychotropic herb that is now legal?
Could be.
That might have been a little bit of a bonding thing. Who knows?
Oh yeah, that could be. Imagine walking into that hotel room.
He also, Jeff, did you see the Bob Dylan bedroom with the Bob Dylan picture on the door? I slept in that room. Yes. I slept in the Bob Dylan bedroom.
I can't believe that you were there in December, and again, he didn't let on.
I can't.
You had no idea. That...
And I was with Bob Knoll, who was the guy whose company is building the Larry Bird Museum and organizing it. Bob and I were there, and he was, and he'll tell you, verify. He's stunned when we talked to him about it. He couldn't believe it when he heard, because he looked so good. He looked terrific. It was no remote indication.
I knew when he wasn't at the Final Four, Bob. I asked somebody, and somebody had told me that he wasn't doing well. I didn't know it was cancer.
Yeah. No, I know. And
Final Four almost every year. He's got this stool that he sits on, and right courtside there. And I don't know if he's doing radio. He's been doing radio or what for the Final Four, but yeah, I'm gonna miss him, I think. And I'm one of so many that will say that they're going to miss, again, just seeing him, being around him. I don't know, man.
I want to talk about one basketball aspect because it's unique to him, in my judgment. Okay. His rebound technique. After a while watching, I said, "Oh my God." His timing about when the ball hit the rim and came off the rim was so impeccable that he timed it it looked like he was basically flirting with of interference with goaltending because his time, and it was like he would sweep the ball off the rim as if you were sweeping crumbs off the table. Yeah. Picture this movement of sweeping crumbs off the table, which we all do, the ball off the rim, and part B, so often before we even hit the ground, he's turning his body and throwing the outlet pass. There's never been anybody else doing that in that manner. Nobody. And he
never wanted the attention. He never wanted to really talk about. Again, that's the sad part. All these kids now, they now understand, maybe because of his passing, how good he was. But he never told these kids when he was interviewing them. You'd have other coaches come up and tell the player, the college player, "Hey, do you know who you're talking to?" And they're like, "Yeah, this dude who talks about nonsense during the games." And they're like, "No. This was like as good of a player as ever has played this game." And they had no idea. No idea. Because
before we put the current wrap on it, I have to stress how he identified as a Celtic. It is almost as if he had never been to Portland. And it had nothing to do, by the way, it was two things. One, he loved the Celtics and grew up. Who was his idol? Bill Russell. He grew up in La Mesa, California, but he wasn't a Laker fan as much as he was a Bill Russell fan. Okay, number one. Number two, he identified as a Celtic. He enjoyed that year. It was almost a more important championship to him almost than the one in Portland. And it had nothing to do with the city, which he loved, the teammates whom he loved. In fact, they named his son Luke after Maurice Lucas. People should understand that. Or anything to do. It's the organization. He did not like the organization, the way he was treated, the way he was misdiagnosed by the doctor, and he thought it was a penurious organization. He thought they were cheap bastards too, so he had no love lost for Portland. He loved Dr. Jack. Oh my God, no question, and vice versa. But he identifies as a Celtic, and that was totally important to him. And so this is a major. You figure he only had the 2 years here, and the second year only Bill got hurt on the exercise bike before the season started and wound up KOing the season. But that 1 year was a treasure for all of us. It was the happiest professional year of his life, and it was a treasure for us to have had him. And then any of us who knew him at all, these are sad days to contemplate that Bill is no longer with us.
It's game time, people. Game time makes getting NBA Finals tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the tip-off. Like right now, I was looking on the app, and it's really easy to use. Just download the app. Lots of pictures for us sports fans, lots of pictures. And, the tickets for Celtics Game 1 and whoever they play, between $600-700. But the closer you get to actual tip time, it's going to go down. So you and your friends may do a last-minute thing. And I know it's a lot of money, but maybe it's 2-3 of your friends. Last-minute trip, boom, let's go. Let's see what the tickets are on Game Time. You never know. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. Last-minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals. Okay, here's the deal. Last-minute deals save up to 60% off buying last-minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. Now, the flash dealers save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or the event. Save even more when you choose a section for the zone deals. You choose a section, let Game Time choose the seats. Sounds pretty good to me. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA Finals tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And now we move on to what's happening today.
Yeah.
In the finals. So at the time of our recording, Minnesota has stayed alive. They stayed alive. But we, for all intents and purposes, we believe that it's going to be a Denver Celtics thing.
Jeff, Dallas.
Dallas. I meant Dallas. It's yes. Celtics Dallas thing. Jeff, how do you feel about the way the Celtics are playing? I mean, I called Bob the other night, but I during the game, because I had to call to somebody. I called one of you two guys. I called both you guys, but I got to you. This Cleveland series and how this, like, we bitched and moaned about how the Celtics don't close out games. And now they're closing out games. But I've never seen anything like this. They trail, they play like crap, and for 2 minutes they put on their best basketball and they win. Is that the way? Is that just who they are?
Well, it hasn't been who they've been, right? I mean, they've
right. No, but now is that
you guys were complaining? Wait! You guys have been complaining all year.
No doubt.
Win close games. And what have I told you all year? What have I have been the voice. I'm very rarely the voice of reason, but I was the voice of reason all season long when you guys were hitting that panic button, hitting that panic button, and I said, guys, none of this matters. All that matters is in the postseason. Now, I guess obviously they've got some luck here, right? They faced Miami without Jimmy Butler. Donovan Mitchell wasn't there for the end of the series. Halliburton wasn't there. I get it, but like at the end of the day, last I checked, the Lakers won the title a few years ago, even though it was in the bubble, and nobody's taken it away from them yet, right? And I don't think anybody's ever going to take it away from them. They won it. So who cares who they played? At the end of the day, they're going to have to play somebody good in the NBA Finals to win the whole thing. Probably a team with 2 of the top 10 talents, maybe 2 of the top 5 talents in the NBA right now, in Luka and Kyrie. I just think, again, the biggest thing that you see with this Celtics team is maturity, is the fact that you can trust 4 guys to make the right play at the end of the game. Even Jaylen Brown.
Yes.
I never thought I'd say the fact that Jaylen Brown would make the right decision, but he's making the right decision most of the time. We know Derek White is like unbelievable. Look at his assist to turnover ratio in the playoffs. It's insane. It's like 6-1. Drew Holiday, is going to make the right decision. And I just think those two have rubbed off on Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And this thing, by the way, that everybody's talking about now, not everybody, but some people, when Jaylen Brown won MVP, Jason Tatum didn't look happy. Didn't look as happy for him. I'm like, first of all, Jason Tatum is not the type to jump up and down. We see this. The only time we've ever seen him do it is when he's mad at the officials. He's not gregarious. That's not him. He was smiling if you look at him in the background. He's happy for Jaylen Brown. He's happy, and I think they all are. They're in the NBA Finals, and I think they all understand, well, the 2 of them really, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, that, you know what? If they lose another one, none of these individual awards or statistics matter because they're going to get crucified if they don't win the NBA title.
Right.
Ultimately, they got to figure out a way to do it together, and they have with the help of Drew Holiday and Derek White.
My only little nitpick at the moment, all right, let's just back up for a second. They won 3 close games. We grant you that Rick Carlisle took full blame for messing up one of them, and it's true. They won another one when Brown hit an improbable shot. That's true. And the third one, there was no ifs, ands, or buts. They won the game legitimately, making big plays. All right, fine. So, I mean, I think they've satisfied my desire to see them win close games, close out games. I have one little nitpick. I'm worried about Hauser. I don't know how much longer you can go with no bench scoring. And
you get Porzingis back, you don't care.
Yeah, so we get Porzingis back.
It doesn't matter.
But, that's all. That's a nitpick. That's not a big major.
Well, it was interesting.
And I'm sure the shot will come around sooner or later.
Yeah, he really struggled in the big moments.
One of the reasons, that they were so good down in the stretch was they had they could count on scoring from both Pritchard and Hauser, and the bench was an asset. And right now this disproportionate amount of scoring is done by the starting 5. But you're right. Now we don't know. You're going to get Porzingis back. My God, you would hope by the time this thing starts on June 6th. But what will we be? I don't know. How sharp will we be? It's a long layoff. I don't know, but he'll be welcome back. But in general, there's no reason to complain. People should be happy. They should accept what's going on. They should be grateful to have this team, and that's that. So,
well, I think what I take from right now, and I'm fully satisfied too. And Yes, we will nitpick because we're sports fans, and that's what we do. We talk about the game. But overall, they should win the NBA championship. I think if you're a Celtics fan, you know, very satisfied. I mean, you really. But what I take is I think the roles have finally been determined between Tatum and Brown. I think Brown realized that he's got to be the grit. And when I say grit, that takes nothing away from his talent, but his post-game interviews, they've had some edge to him. The way he's played the game, it's had some edge to him. He's made big plays in big moments, whether it's scoring, going to the basket. I mean, can anybody stop this guy going to the basket? I don't know if there's anybody better going to the hoop right now than Jaylen Brown. I mean, forget about it.
Oh, and some.
What's that?
And then the other end, some big blocks, timely
defensively
blocks,
all-round game. Like,
yeah.
So like if you sit there and you say to me like, well, you know, who's the star of the Celtics? I got to tell you right now, it's a two-headed monster. And you know what? I'm done. And I know that Jaylen didn't get the awards, which is too bad because he does deserve some recognition. And sometimes you look at Tatum's numbers and it's not his fault, but some of the numbers are empty. Again, not his fault. But like Jaylen, but like, you know, Tatum has kind of stepped back and let other people thrive. The behind the pack pass the other night to Tatum.
Oh, that's great.
That was a great play. So it's like, so now some people are bitching because like Tatum will disappear for a quarter while the other guys are scoring. I'm like, well, what do you want? You know what? I mean, my
so
God,
bad.
you know, what do you want? You wanted him to be a team guy and the other guys are scoring. And now you're bitching that he's not doing it every quarter. Minnesota was relying on two guys, one guy specifically, and they're down 3-1. So it's like, right. So I'll get off.
You're absolutely right about the fact that what were they bitching about? Dribble, 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 and he'd take tough shots. Now what's he doing? Making the right read.
Right.
The time, and they're yelling that you're disappearing, you're not being aggressive
right.
enough.
So, like, I mean, the kid can't win. Right. So it's like, I think the Celtics finally have an identity, and then I'll let you guys respond to this. Jeff, I'll start with you. They finally have an identity where I think Brown has his role, Tatum has his role, because Tatum's never going to have that growl that Brown has, nope. And the two belong together. That's it. I'm done trying to say that it's Tatum's team or it's Brown's team. It belongs to both of them. Jeff Goodman.
You know what the beauty is, too? That Jason Tatum attracts so much attention and so many double teams that these other guys don't have to deal with it.
Right.
Whether it's Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, Derek White, when you put Porzingis back in the court, that's kind of the beauty of it. And that's the part that I don't think you can say apple to apple when people try to say Jaylen. Like, I don't like how people say they're the same player. Like,
they're not.
People, well, they do the same things. No, they don't do the same things at all. Jaylen Brown is incredible in transition and getting downhill. Jason Tatum is a guy who makes people better consistently now and takes on the double teams so that Jaylen Brown doesn't need to. If Jaylen Brown is the number one guy and constantly having to deal with double teams, we've seen that before. We've seen that before where he'll dribble into traffic and people will knock the ball away. Now he's got to beat one guy most of the time. And he can do that. That's the beauty too, guys. Remember, when it was Tatum and Jaylen Brown, I remember talking to people that would play against them, other players, and they would say, this is an easy team to defend when it's just worrying about the two of them. Now you got to worry about Derek White and Drew Holiday. And when Porzingis gets back on the court, like, that is really difficult, and give Brad Stevens so much credit. Brad Stevens, the GM. Danny Ainge for drafting Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
Moving up to get him.
Did you see somebody put out a graphic, I think last night, of the other guys drafted in the top 3 when they ended up getting Tatum and Jaylen Brown? And it was like Ben Simmons, Markelle Fultz, Lonzo Ball. I forget who the 4th was that was drafted in the top 6 ahead of those guys. But Danny Ainge hit it with the 2, drafting those 2 guys. And then Brad Stevens hit it with the trades of getting Derek White, of getting Drew Holiday, and getting Porzingis, right? I mean, they should get like co-exec of the year.
Now, when you're hiring for small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking at LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. So LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. So post your job for free on linkedin.com/scribe. That's linkedin.com/scribe to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Yeah. I want to put in a word for the guards. I know we said this before, but I've been mainly fascinated by this backcourt right now, and that it's the smartest combination backcourt that I've ever seen, and they're so alike, but they fit together so perfectly. And I'm thinking the envy of every other coach in the league, saying, God, I wouldn't mind one of those guys. They got two. That's not fair. It should be one to a customer, and they got two of them. And it's what a pleasure it is to watch those guys. So
yeah, Bob and I have talked about this, Jeff, when it's been the two of us. You missed the show. We were like, we'll nitpick a little bit, but we're kind of done complaining. We got to really be grateful for what we have. Okay, let's move on to the matchup now. Having said that, all those things, you got two veterans right now. Bob, I'll start with you on this. I mean, Kyrie, when Kyrie wants to play, forget about it. And you've got two veterans right now with Dallas that are at the top of their game. How big of a threat now are they to the Celtics if and when they do close out the game with Minnesota?
Before I get to that, just to say, no team's ever come back from 0-3 in the
Right.
NBA. Have done it in the NHL on 2 or 3 occasions, but until it's done, I'm not writing them out, and I'm sorry about Minnesota. But anyway, Kyrie, interesting. Oh yeah, Kyrie's one of those fascinating guys on and off the court that we've ever known in the league. Absolutely. Jeff has referred to him as a top 10, possibly even top 5 talent. He is extraordinarily gifted, goes to the basket as his size as well as anyone I've ever seen with either hand. The thing about him is he's a complicated human being, not as smart as he thinks he is, trying to figure out life and trying to figure out who he is, I think, frankly, and is figuring it out. This is not the same guy that we had. This is not the same guy that, for reasons that he never disclosed to anybody publicly, he left Cleveland and got away from LeBron after winning a championship and making the biggest famous shot in the finals history, and not history, but in this decade,
Sure.
To win the championship, and not exactly being a useful guy in New Jersey. For some reason, he's evolved into where whether it's some certain amount of respect he has for Doncic for whatever reason, he is fitting in perfectly. He gets it now in a way that he didn't so far. He hadn't previously gotten it to meld that it with the talent that he's always had. He's a scary force right now. Now, having said that, he had a bad night in Game 4. He had a very bad night. He went 6 for 18, 1 for 6 on threes. Okay, he had a bad night. Anybody can have a bad night. Let's see how. I suspect he'll bounce back well. But I got to give the guy credit. It's taken a while. He's in his early 30s now, but he's got that marriage of talent and know-how and willingness to share that is making him a real serious threat.
I mean, he had 5.5 years where he was crucified, and rightfully so for most of them.
Yeah.
Right? Wouldn't guard a chair. I mean, honestly, couldn't guard a chair. Didn't care about guarding. Again, I've always described Kyrie off the court. He's moody. On his best day, you love him. And his teammates were like that. On his worst day, they couldn't stand him. And they never knew what they were going to get from him.
Right.
I feel like now, there's some parallels here, guys, a little bit, in a way, to Rondo. I think Rondo, a lot of people didn't love playing with Rondo early in his career. And at the end, players loved him. And I feel like maybe Kyrie's gotten that way where like, and again, Rondo always thought he was smarter than everybody. Whether it was the coaches, the players, whatever. Kyrie's the same way, can kind of be standoffish a little bit, can piss some people off with what they say. They don't have a lot of tact. Well, I think maybe at this point in his career too, Kyrie's embraced the fact that like, I know I'm Robin. I'm never going to be Batman. I can't win it all being Batman. I don't know. I don't know what it is. The other part, guys, here's the other part. So Nico Harrison runs the Mavs. Okay. They hired him a couple of years ago and he was at Nike for years. He's known Kyrie since Kyrie was like 16 years old. So I wonder if there's some sort of synergy there, because I think for Kyrie, so much of it is about trust. And if he doesn't trust you and he doesn't respect you, it's hard, man. And I think he respects Nico and he respects Luka. How can you not respect Luka? I mean, the dude just, I mean, he's a once in a lifetime type talent, because you look at him and you're like, his physical tools, he can't jump off the ground.
Oh, yeah.
His body looks like he belongs at the YMCA. But my God, the stuff he is able to do and the IQ, and I think that's part of it, guys. What does Kyrie want, right? Somebody that he can be at the level of from a basketball IQ standpoint. He's finally found that guy that maybe LeBron was that, but he was too young to appreciate it. And he wanted to be a guy or the guy. I think now he's realized like he's my equal, maybe even more than that.
No, the Doncic is a fascinating. He does what he does at his pace, and nobody gets him, disturbs him. And now, but I am a little tired of the whining.
Oh, me too. Me too.
I mean, it's just come on. Almost, it seems like it's like every other play. I won't say every play, but about every other call, he's giving you the come on, Luka.
As we wrap it up, Ken, and I know you don't want to get ahead of it, but Bob, can Dallas win it all?
Well, to win it all, they got to beat the Celtics, and
well, that's where I'm at here.
And I'm saying, I
need Lively bad. They need a healthy Derek Lively.
Yeah, I want to see the young man get back in. I'm happy, by the way, it was quote only a neck sprain, because I was worried could have been neurological, and so in that sense, good for him. But I mean, I hope he gets back. Yeah, they depended on the two-headed rim protecting monster, and they only had one half of it in game 4. I would be really, really shocked if the Celtics don't win.
You've got Luka and Kyrie. You'd be that shocked? I mean, those guys are capable of getting, 30 each every single night. And
I know.
I don't know if I'd be shocked, Bob. It depends on Porzingis. Doesn't it?
How many of those other guys, would, I don't know, would be in a lot of other rotations? I don't know. It would be a tribute. If they ever were to pull it off, it'd be a hell of a tribute to them. I'd take my hat. I'd salute them. I'd say, okay, I'm fine, but I'm not. I find it hard to believe that will be enough to beat the Celtics.
Listen, I'll say this too. I mean, PJ Washington's been awesome. Again, Gafford is. If you have a Gafford Lively duo down there, and I also think, guys, there aren't many guys in the league that can match up with Jaylen Brown. Derek Jones, defensively, can match up with Jaylen Brown. He can make life difficult for Jaylen Brown. No doubt about it.
Well, fine. I know. Look, if they will have earned their way there. I always say that they will definitely have earned their way there. So that makes them worthy. At all. So okay.
All right, gents. Well, we will have certainly more time to talk about this again. We pay tribute to the late, great Bill Walton. This was a better place. It was a better league with him. All right, for Jeff Goodman, I'm Gary Tanguay. We'll talk again next week right here. Brought to you by Prize Picks, exclusive daily fantasy partner of CLNS Media. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with Prize Picks. See you, fellas.